Jerry West, a consultant with the Clippers, um, most recently, has passed away at the age of 86. And I'm going to give you some background on him, and then we're going to go from there. He was known as the Zeke from Cabin Creek. Mr. West grew up in West Virginia. He had a really harsh childhood. He speaks of a really abusive father, and it connected us. Reading upon that, I, as you can see, am also a survivor of abuse. If you have, I'm going to just upload this podcast to YouTube, so you guys aren't, we're just going to give you the full raw feed of what we're doing, because Jerry West meant that much to me. But as you see, I have a paralyzation on the right side of my face, and that was thanks to my dad, and I spoke about it on this podcast before. And that was our first connection. But Jerry West literally has been part of my life ever since I was little. What sparked my interest in doing this is the team that he put together with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and at the time Norm Nixon and Jamal Wilkes, Michael Cooper, Spencer Haywood was on that team. And then it changed to James Worthy and Byron Scott, and of course Kareem and Magic and AC Green. But this man shaped my early childhood, and it impacted me in such a way because we had civic pride out here. Los Angeles was winning championships, and we were down for the Lakers. And Jerry West was the architect of that. And we'll get further into this, but I don't want to skip steps here. We talked about Jerry being from West Virginia, his harsh childhood bring up. I also want to talk about what really impacted him. At the age of 13, he lost his brother, David, who served in the Korean War. Jerry fondly talks about his brother being one of the best people he's ever known. Also in an interview, you can find it on YouTube, I believe. I also think you can find it on ESPN Archives. Jerry West talking about two of the most difficult times in his life was losing his brother at the age of 13, and obviously the tragic loss of Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash. Jerry was devastated by those two things, and losing his brother shaped him. It made him more of an introvert. Another thing that happened to Jerry is that he was kind of scrawny. He was frail when he was little, and he had to take vitamin injections to kind of boost up his immune system, but it made him a solitary person. And in that solitary mode that he was in, Jerry refined his skills, because he was like, I don't have anything to do but just to get better. And Jerry shot the ball. Jerry shot from different angles. He shot it from different distances. He shot it from the left side, the right side. He shot that thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He shot that thing. Obviously, Mr. West, which he hated me. He hated when I called him that. He hated when I called him Mr. West. But Mr. West went on to star at the University of West Virginia, where he was a two-time All-American, and then he became the second overall pick in the 1960 draft to the Lakers, which they were in Minneapolis at the time. He had a storied career, right? Let's get into it. 14-time All-Star. He was the 1972 NBA Finals MVP, he also was the only player to ever win a Finals MVP from a losing team, and that was in 1969. Do your research, guys. The other thing is that he's a 10-time first-team All-NBA player. He's also a 4-time defensive player, All-Defensive player. Jerry West was an all-around player. I mean, we don't have to go into how great he was on the court, but it's all leading to a lot of things here. But I wanted to give you background on what the man meant to the league. You know, this is a guy who, you know, when we talk about the Boston Laker rivalry, he was in the middle of the Russell, Cousy, Havlicek era. He had to deal with all that, and he talks about how devastating all those losses were, because when he finally got to the mountain in 72, when they finally did win the championship, he talks about that he felt joy for the fan base and relief for himself, because he felt that with all of the points that man scored, with all the great moments that man gave Los Angeles, he felt he let Los Angeles down, getting them to the finals all those times with less superior teams, by the way. He felt he let them down, but he was really overjoyed for the fan base and also for his teammates at the moment. Winning the title for him was like just checking the box moment. I'm being dead serious. He retires from basketball because of the fact that, and he talks about this specifically, Jerry West is a stand-up guy. He's probably as most stand-up as you can get, and if you ask Jerry a question, he's going to give you a very honest answer. Now, I don't know if the young people of today are built for that, but that's what Jerry West was. And if you lied to Jerry, that was it. Could you imagine a day and age now, Jerry West walking around with people, how they act and whatever the case may be? But he retired because he was told something contractually. Mind you, I listed all the accolades of this man to you. Also, he was a scoring champion in 1970 and an NBA assist leader in 1972. So he was an all-around guy as far as basketball talent. So the Laker organization in 1972, he was the assist leader. So towards the end of his career, he tore his groin. He was going to come back. They promised him a certain amount of money. They didn't get it to him. And Jerry West was going to be the first $1 million player ever in the NBA. He turned it down. He turned it down. Because when you lied to him on the contract in 73, that was pretty much the end of your relationship with Jerry West at that point in time. He was a man of principle. So whatever you think of that, you can say, yeah, he left the bag and all this other thing. But, you know, this is what he decided to do. But the best part about it is it didn't stop him from rejoining the Lakers and becoming their GM, which would now be your president of player personnel type of person. They didn't have that title back then. Obviously, organizations have gotten bigger. They've gotten more advanced as far as that's concerned. You need more people to really, truly run an organization. But at the time, he became a GM, and he became an 8-time executive of the year. It got so bad in the 80s that if you got a call from the 213 area code, because we didn't have 310, we didn't have 562 at that point. But if you got a call from the 213 area code and you were in the NBA and you were in the front office, you just didn't want to take that call. You didn't want to take that call because it was Jerry West on the other line. And Jerry West found ways to get players. Some of the trades that he made, how he got Magic Johnson was crazy. Utah will always understand. The Worthy situation 3 years later, we got Bob McAdoo for a song. Byron Scott, which was a high pick. We traded Norm Nixon for Byron Scott. That led to more titles. Oh, you say, well, it looks like he got kind of fortunate. Well, then he started to draft late. And then there were people like AC Green who were getting drafted like with the 26th, 27th pick overall. And then there were guys like Michael Cooper. And there were trades for Michael Thompson. And then after you say, hey, he built one, right? And he had a generational talent. Could he do it again? We went through some years with Nick Van Exel and whatever, and then came Kobe. Jerry West talks about how it was one of the easiest scouting situations he's ever done. Because Jerry West believes in a couple things here. He believes in compete level. He believes in your basketball IQ. You know, obviously you have to have athletic traits and things of that nature. But what drew him to Kobe is that he spoke 3 languages already. He was an accomplished young man. And Jerry felt a kinship to Kobe Bryant because he knew the solitary life that Kobe led in Italy before he got to the States. But he also saw just the drive to be excellent. And he shaped Kobe and helped Kobe along his way. Obviously, Kobe did a lot on his own, but they talked a lot. Hell, there was a point where Kobe was thinking about going to Memphis when Jerry went to Memphis, and we're going to get into all the places he went to, because his career was so vast. Because he went to the Lakers, he built them, and then once he left the Lakers, he went to Memphis. Right? They had only won 23 games before Jerry West got there, and he brought in Hubie Brown, and the grit and grind legacy was born. Okay? He went on to be a consultant for Golden State, and he was absolutely significant in the drafting of Klay Thompson because he had a relationship with Michael Thompson. And then also, he was the pitch man for Kevin Durant to come to Golden State. And he talked to him about titles. Talked to him about legacy. And it changed the direction of the NBA landscape for a period of time where Golden State was absolutely dominant. And then he came to the Clippers and brought his consultantship to the Clippers, and he talks about Steve Ballmer in a way where I honestly did not know, but getting to know him, and we're about to get to the part where this gets personal for me. But before I finish it up, Also, keep in mind, Jerry West was excellent at everything he did. He had a small, brief coaching stint, which he says, that was the stupidest thing I've ever done, his coaching, because he couldn't stand it. 145 and 101 was his record. He had a winning percentage of 58.9%. There wasn't anything this man couldn't do. That's why he's a 3-time Hall of Famer. So as a player, as ambassador for the league, or as for ambassador of the league, but also for executive, and also for collegiate sports as well, the USA basketball and things of that nature. Mr. West also talks about how the two most things that he's proud of as far as legacy is concerned is winning the 1960 gold medal, where everything was going on in our country with social justice and Cold Wars and things of that nature. And he said that he and Oscar Robertson, because they didn't put the gold medals on everybody at that point, so he and Oscar Robertson stood on the gold medal podium together. And he said it changed his life. And then, he was called Mr. Clutch, and he's the logo. And he hates it. He hates that everybody knows that he's the logo. He's so differential to it. Like it almost, you can see it just sends like a tinkle up his spine if it's ever brought up. So, but his kids like it and they want to keep it, so he's like, okay, whatever. And then that gets me to me, right? I lived a lot of lives. I've done a lot of stuff, and I had the fortunate mishap of running into Mr. West, working at a previous spot, and just got to sit and talk with him for a second and just explain how indelible of a mark he's left on me as a person who enjoys doing this, right? And he couldn't have been more gracious with his time. He couldn't have been more generous with his time. And it led to every once in a while picking up the phone and talking to one another, as the Clippers were going through these situations with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard being hurt, and how frustrating it was for him, because all he wanted to do was to help win a title for Mr. Ballmer, because he called Steve Ballmer one of the most generous men that he's ever met, not just with his money but also with his time. And it means a lot to him because he loves people. For somebody so reserved and somebody so revered in this industry, he loves people, and he loves talking the game, but he loves talking about life. He told me that once he got into the league, he only wanted to room with black players because he wanted to learn from them. He wanted to learn what they went through, and he also wanted to see what the similarities were. And what he found out is that we're all really similar. And if at 22 years old, 23 years old, West Virginia born Jerry West can figure out that it's not the color of your skin, but it's the content of your character, then we should all take
Hey Vince, just take your time here, man.
No, I'm cool, Punch. Thanks, man. We should all take a page out of his book. We should all take a page out of his book for that. But he befriended me. There were conversations, and I learned a lot about the game. I learned a lot about how things work, and I try to share as much as I possibly can with you guys. But he was generous to a independent podcaster who he didn't know from Adam, and all I did was say Mr. West, and he said, "Could you just call me Jerry? Just call me Jerry." He was extremely fiery when it came to talking about basketball and wanting to win. But talking about books and talking about history and talking about Kareem and talking about his love for Kareem as a person, and how Kareem was a person that broke the mold and pushed boundaries when, it wasn't cool for black people to push boundaries, and how he wanted Kareem to do that, and even though they had kind of a, back and forth relationship, he loved Kareem. He loved Shaq too. He loved Shaq. But he just loved people, man. And we talk about at the end of this show all the time that, surround yourself with people who brighten your light and don't extinguish your light. And unfortunately, we had a really bright light get extinguished today. And my condolences go out to his family, his wife, his kids, and anybody who ever came across Jerry West was left better by Jerry West. So I know I was. I am more informed. I'm a better person because of Jerry West, and I thank him for everything he's ever said to me, ever done for me. So thank you. Rest in peace to the logo, Mr. West.